Hello everyone, welcome to the second in our series on editing in Grid for iPad. My name's Trevor Mobbs and I work as part of the content team here at Smartbox. So today, over the next half an hour, we're going to build on the skills we learned in session one and begin to add more functions to the grid set that we began to create. And we're going to include navigation and action cells. So we're going to add another page to our grid set and show you how to navigate between the grids in the grid set and so on. So as we did last time, we're going to be looking at our editing skills in the Grid for iPad app. So Grid is a complete solution, a communication solution with a range of symbol and text vocabularies, as well as grid sets to support independence. So all of the skills we're going to look at in the session today can be used across the whole range of grid sets in Grid for iPad. So including those that you create yourself, like the one that we're doing today, but equally you can use the same editing skills with our pre-made resources or other people's resources that you download from online grids. There are no grid sets that you can't edit and change and move stuff around and make them look how you want them to look. So the skills that you'll learn today, you can use those in any grid set. And this session, just to give you an idea of the level that we're at, this is designed as a session for beginners. So there's no prior knowledge required except for this session, just to have the very basics from session one. So if you didn't join us for session one, that will be available on our YouTube channel shortly. You can always go back and catch up that way. Okay, so I'm going to switch now over to my iPad. Here we are in Grid Explorer, which is basically where we launch our grid sets from. It's kind of like our menu page or our launcher. And if you remember, in session one, we created a grid set that was all about hot drinks, requesting different hot drinks and talking about them. So to start with, I'm going to open up that grid set by selecting it like so. So this is what we've made so far. And if I'm going to make any changes to this grid set, I'm going to first of all need to go into edit mode, which is by clicking on the three dots in the corner to bring up the menu. And then go to edit grids. So the first thing that I'm going to do is add some cells that will allow us to control the chat and writing area. At the moment, we could create a sentence, but we'd have no way of correcting any mistakes. We'd have no way of speaking the sentence that we've created. We'd have no way of clearing the writing area so that we could start a new sentence. So those are the things that we're going to add in. The first thing we'll do is add in the speak cell. So I'm going to select the top right hand cell for that. And the cell that I'm looking for isn't in the default top three choices. So I'll just select show more so that I get the whole range of different commands that are available. And I can search for a command using the magnifying glass. We'll show that in a few minutes, but you can just browse through the commands that are available under different categories as well. So because we're looking for a speak command, it's going to be in the chat and writing category. So if I open that up and then I can just go right down to speak here. If I wasn't sure if this was the command that I wanted, I can click on the little info symbol as well, and that will give me a little bit more information. So that's our speak cell inserted. So now we'll choose done. So you'll see that that cell has been created with a different style applied, and that's because it's a different type of cell with a different function to the ones that we created previously. So a different style has been applied by default. But just in the same way that we edited the styles for these cells here last week, you can edit that style too, and we'll do that in a moment or two. But first of all, I want to add a clear cell. If I want to clear the chat writing area, I'm going to need a cell that will enable me to do that. So I'll just select the cell which I want to edit. And again, I'm going to need to select Show More. So Grid for iPad has remembered that I was in the chat and writing area previously. If I wanted a different type of cell this time, I could click on the back arrow and see all the categories again. But very often when you're creating cells at the same time, they're often the same type of cell. So this can be a time saver that it will leap into the correct category. So we want to find the clear command. And as I scroll down, it's actually the last one in the chat and writing category. So select that, and that's my clear cell. And then select done. Okay. And I'm going to add finally a delete word. Cell. So again, I select where I want it to be. I'll go to show more. This time I'm just going to start searching by clicking on the magnifying glass. The keyboard comes up. And as I type, the search suggestions are offered. So I've only had to type a couple of letters, and I can choose delete word. And done. So now I've got my 3 action cells ready to use. I'll give them a little try. So to come out of edit mode, I would just select finish editing. Changes are saved automatically in Grid for iPad. And so I could say
I want hot chocolate.
okay. And then I can clear my sentence now. And type another sentence.
Want
And once I've selected a word, if I change my mind, I can now just delete that word. So I might want to change I want to I like.
like
And then I can choose the drink I'd like to talk about. So at this point, I just want to make a little adjustment to the style of these 3 cells that I've just made. So to do that, I would go back into edit mode again. I go into menu and edit grids. And then select any one of those 3 cells. And I'll go to edit cell. And at the moment, I'm on the commands side of the screen. If I choose the Style tab instead, then I can make a change here. And what I want to do is get rid of that border. So I'm going to select Cell Border and choose None. And then go back. And then I'm going to click Update Style so that all the cells that use the chat and writing style will be updated too. And then done. And you can see that the border has been removed from all three of those cells and any other cells on other grids if I had them as well that use that style. So the next thing that we're going to look at today is creating a jump cell. So first of all, I'm going to create the jump itself. I'm going to select the blank cell bottom right. And this time, rather than a write and speak cell, I'm going to choose jump to another grid. And it's given me three choices: jump home, jump back, or jump to start, because that's the only grid that I have at the moment. So there's no point in creating a jump that will jump to the grid that I'm already on. I could, at this point, create a brand new grid by selecting the plus symbol. But what I'm actually going to do is create a copy of the hot drinks grid that we already made, because what we're going to do now is make a cold drinks grid, and apart from the actual names of the drinks, the other cells are going to be the same, like the chat writing area, the pronouns, the control cells like speak and clear and so on. So there's not really any point in starting from scratch. So what I'm going to do is say copy grid, and then the top menu is telling me to select the grid to copy. So I'm going to choose start. That's the only grid I can copy because that's the only one I have. And then I just need to give that grid a name. I'm going to call it cold drinks. And then done. So the cell's been created. You can see again it's used a different style because it's a different type of cell. And the command that's on this cell is a jump to, and the grid that it's going to jump to is the grid called cold drinks. When you're in edit mode, if you wanted to select a cell and jump to the grid that it's set to jump to, just selecting it in edit mode won't do that, because the app won't know whether you want to edit the cell or follow the jump. So you have to specifically tell it by having the cell selected and then choosing follow jump here on the right hand side, and that's how you move between grids in edit mode. So we're just next going to update the style and the symbol on this jump cell. So the symbol, if I want to change that, I just click on the symbol area of the cell, and then I'll get some suggestions. And I'm just going to choose the arrow, so it's to jump. The label is okay, but I'm going to just go to style, and just to match the cells above, I'm going to remove the border. So again, it's cell border, none. And then I'll just go back, and it's good practice to update the style. Although there's only one jump cell at the moment, I might create more as I go along, and it'll make life easier later if I update the style so they all new jump cells now will also not have that border. So what I'm going to do now is go back to commands on this cell and then select follow jump to jump to my new grid. Okay, so at the moment, this is kind of looks a little bit confusing because this obviously is a copy of our hot drinks grid, and you might not always know straight away which grid you're on in this sort of situation. And a tip here is to look on the top bar. That will give you the title of the grid that you're on. So we know we're on the cold drinks grid, even though it doesn't look like it yet because we haven't added in the cold drinks themselves. So that's what we're going to do now. And this will be a bit of revision from the first session just on how to edit these cells here. We're just going to quickly add in some cold drinks. So if I choose hot chocolate first and then edit cell, and then just click on the label, and I'm going to type water for this first one. And then tap on the symbol and choose an appropriate one. And then we're going to do underneath that, we're going to do the same thing again, this time with Coke. And lemonade. So you can see it's really quick to edit the cells. And this one was going to be iced tea. And choose a symbol. This one will change to smoothie. Nearly done now. This one we'll make into milkshake. And then finally, we're going to change coffee to apple juice. Now this cell, if you remember, was a little bit different because the label says coffee, but what we had set this cell to do was to write a whole sentence, which was black coffee, extra strong. So what I need to do, if this one's going to be apple juice, we don't really need it to have a different label from the text that is written. So I'm just going to change same as cell label to on, and then type apple juice. So you can see it's really quick to toggle between those two modes of whether the cell label matches or not. Okay, so we've made our changes to from hot drinks to cold drinks. And what we just need to do now is add in a couple of additional jumps. At the moment, if I jump to this cold drinks grid, I'd be stuck here. I have no way of getting back to the hot drinks grid. So here in this empty cell where the jump cell was on our first grid, we'll add a jump in. So select it, select jump to another grid, and in this case I can select back to jump back to hot drinks. And at this point as well, I'm going to add in a jump to the home grid. In this particular grid set, the home grid is the same as the hot drinks grid, but if you have to imagine that I was creating a grid set with multiple grids in it, you want a quick way of jumping basically to the top page of the grid set, and that will be a jump to the home grid. So that is created by doing jump to another grid and then just selecting home like so. And you can set any grid in a grid set to be the home grid. So let's just give our grid set a quick try at this point. We'll go to finish editing, clear what's in there, and let's start off
I
by asking for a cold drink.
want apple juice.
Okay, and then we could clear that and jump back or jump home. That will take us to our hot drinks grid. And then we could say you
Want hot chocolate.
okay. So that seems to be working fine. What I might want to do, if I was looking to improve this grid set a little bit, is that rather than a jump back, I might want to tweak that cell and make it jump specifically to a hot drinks page so that you know where it is that you're headed. So again, it's those three dots, edit grids, and then select the back cell and edit. So what I'll have to do here is delete the back command by clicking on the cross and then click on add command and then go to jumps and then jump to, because we want to tell it which grid to jump to specifically. And remember our hot drinks grid is called start because it was the default start grid. We could rename it, but it's called start at the moment. So it's going to jump to that, and then we might want to change the label here to say hot drinks. And choose the symbol also. So I could choose one of these suggested symbols. If I don't really want one of those, then I can go to find picture and then I'm going to go to symbols and I'm going to I can actually specify what I want to search for here. Regardless of what the cell label says, I can change the search term here to something like that. So we've got our hot drinks jump, and we might want to just finally follow that jump and do something similar with cold drinks. We might just want to change the symbol on this one. Maybe I can select that and then done and finish editing. So now I've got more intuitive jump cells between the two. So to recap on what we've learned in this session, we've looked at adding action cells, speak, delete word, and clear. We've added in a jump cell, and when we did that, we learned how to copy an existing grid to save time, which is a useful thing to know. And we also added a jump back cell and a home cell and edited those jump cells also. So lots of new things learnt today. I would recommend after this session that you maybe take some time to explore the lots of other commands that you can add to a cell. We've only been adding a single command to each cell, but you can add a list of commands to a cell to make it do a whole bunch of jobs all at once. And you can browse through the commands that are available by just going to show more and then looking through the categories to see what's there.